Once upon a time, that's the way a good story should begin. Once upon a time, our town was just a trading post nestled between two rivers, and one river was called Christina, and the village, or the trading post, was named after...
And we hereby name our town Christinaham, in honor of our beloved queen, Christina of Sweden.
And so it was known as Christinaham, and it comprised actually a few rough houses down along the Christina River, with the old church as the focal point. And the rest of what is our town today was nothing but woodlands and wilderness, traversed by Indian trails. Then came the English to these shores, and things changed. Land was cheap, but settlers were few. And there was a man named Andrew Justison, wealthy in land. He owned acres and acres here in this strange little settlement, part Swedish, part English, part Dutch, and of course, a good number of Indians who wandered in and out, wondering what it was all about. And then, along about 1731...
And now, my good father-in-law, what about the dowry?
Yes, Thomas, here is my deed, made out in my name, Andrew Justison. I am assigning all this land here along the Christina River to you and Catherine as a wedding gift.
It'll be our town, my town, and we'll call it Wilmington.
A very good name, Thomas. And now, looking at the map here, Thomas, where do you think you'll lay out your Wilmington?
Well, father-in-law, right here, a mile or so up the river from the Swedish church. It'll be what the proprietor, William Penn, would call an orderly town.
You mean no more cow paths for streets?
Exactly. Here the streets will be parallel and at right angles. Here'll be Market Street for our markets. And here'll be King Street, the King's Road. And next to King Street, I'll lay out Willing Street.
And so Thomas and Catherine Willing laid out their new town on paper, from West Street to French, or Willing Street, as he called it. Thomas Willing, with plenty of friends in Philadelphia, sold lots in the new town.
Thomas, I'll buy a lot. Here at what you call Front and Market Street.
If this is good, fast land, as you say, Thomas, I'll take 2 lots right here at Water and Market Street.
But it wasn't all so rosy for Thomas Willing.
Entry in my diary. No lot sold this week.
Yes, the going was tough.
No lot sold in Wilmington this month.
It was very tough.
Bills, bills, nothing but bills.
A thinker, a dreamer. But Wilmington just didn't click.
Master Willing, when will you settle your account?
Debtors closed in on him from all sides.
And this bill must be met in 30 days, sir.
It was a beautiful little village on paper.
Doesn't look very promising to me.
Not very promising, but one day, William and Elizabeth Shipley, prominent members of the Society of Quakers, were driving south from near Philadelphia to visit friends in Delaware and Maryland.
Thomas, look. Look over those hills. Beautiful, aren't they?
Yes, Elizabeth, very beautiful.
Look, Thomas, how the hills roll down to the river. That little cluster of homes. Who lives there?
I think Thomas Willing. Not going very well, but not a man of vision and business at all.
Thomas, do thee think that...
Think what, Elizabeth?
Oh, nothing. Let's discuss it later.
And they did discuss it later.
And so thee must see my argument, Thomas. Here is good land, a good river, and good people.
But I would like to talk it over first with our friends here in Ridley, Elizabeth.
And do thy best, Thomas. Tell them of my vision. Tell them of my dream. How I saw all that marvelous country in a dream. We'll make a great town. Build it and bring our friends there.
And the Quaker lady's persuasion was effective. Along about 1736, the Shipleys bought lot after lot in the village of Wilmington.
And Thomas, here we will build our home. And we'll name this street, running north and south, we'll call it Shipley Street.
Thank thee, Elizabeth.
And this other street, going east and west, will be called High Street. And at the corner, we'll build our home.
And they did build their home, an imposing three-story home at the southwest corner of what is today 4th and Shipley Streets. They were wealthy and influential, the Shipleys, and their friends came here from Philadelphia and Ridley and Chester. They came to the village of Wilmington with their progressiveness, their industry, their determination to build new homes in the wilderness. And gradually, the village of Wilmington became more than just plans on paper, but conflict grew.
And I tell you, Master Shipley, that while you and your friends are many in number, this is still my village, my Wilmington, and the market house will be placed where I want it.
Master Willing, it occurs to me you have very little to say.
We shall see, we shall see.
Yes, we certainly shall see, Master Willing.
And the very businesslike Thomas Shipley got busy. Letters were written, influential letters.
The General Council of Pennsylvania is asked to grant a charter to the borough of Wilmington.
Your Majesty, a petition from subjects in the colonies. The borough of Wilmington asks permission to change its name to Wilmington.
My good Spencer Compton, I am conferring on you an honor. I have a petition from some of our subjects in the colonies. A village on the Delaware, a place called Wilmington, wants to change its name.
And know ye by these presents that in keeping with the wishes of His Royal Majesty, George II, ruler of England, Scotland, Ireland, defender of the faith, and the dominions beyond the seas, the borough of Wilmington is hereby to be known as Wilmington, in honor of His Royal Majesty's friend, Spencer Compton, Earl of Wilmington.
And so the hamlet of Wilmington became known as Wilmington. There is no connection between the two. There is not, as many have thought, an error in writing. But Mr. William Shipley made good his promise, and he continued to oust Thomas Willing.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. An election of all freeholders and renters to the amount of £5 will be held in the borough of Wilmington on the 8th day of September, 1740, Anno Domini. Hear ye, hear ye.
Yes, and the borough of Wilmington held its first election a little more than 200 years ago. And the first election returns.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. It is announced that William Shipley has been elected Chief Burgess of the borough of Wilmington, and the town clerk is Goldsmith Edward Farwell.
Just think of it, William. Chief Burgess of Wilmington.
When you said a new life, Elizabeth, I'll bet you never thought of these honors.
Yes, Chief Burgess William Shipley. Burgess in a borough of 600 souls. Our town, too.
Well, Dame Shipley, no petticoat government here. Tomorrow the borough council meets, and we have plenty of business. First we must build a cage for rough people.
Yes, and provide for semi-annual fairs.
And we will have a law drumming unruly persons out of our borough.
And we must think of schools, William.
And Wilmington was on her way. Sailing ships came here with cargo. More streets were laid out. More homes built. Bridges across the Brandywine. Yes, the borough expanded way to the Brandywine. Between the Christina and the Brandywine, the little hamlet of Wilmington was forgotten. It was known as Wilmington. And tomorrow, if you're in the main lobby of the Wilmington Trust Company, go up and look at the figure of a man with a huge curly wig and a very aristocratic face, a stern chin. He's the man after whom our town was named, Spencer Compton, the Earl of Wilmington. Postscript: the good Earl was never here.